All right, Monday night. Welcome to the Krug Show. Raj is in the house after the Monday Nighter. We'll talk a little bit about Rams Dolphins. We'll get into the 49ers. We'll get into Debo versus Tabor. It's all straight ahead. Let's go. It's the Krug Show, and it starts right now. All right, welcome to the Krug Show, Monday night after Monday Night Football, and we're rolling. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. People ask me sometimes, why do I deepen my voice when I say Pig and a Pickle? That's an old radio trick. It's an old radio trick. If you yell from time to time, or if you mock yelling, more people listen. And thus, more people are hearing Pig and a Pickle than if I just said, hey, check out Pig and a Pickle. So there you go. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. And this video or this live stream is also sponsored by Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. The great Anthony Catania is at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Give him a call. He's at 831-521-5264. Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles, a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. And we should remind you, on Black Friday, small businesses Saturday, the day after Thanksgiving and the next day, the store is going to have a special deal at Sharp Corners where every $100 you spend, the customer gets $10 off. So there you go. And, of course, we are also brought to you by BetUS. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. With BetUS, you get the fastest payouts in the industry and easy withdrawals, live wagering on all major games, plus you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. On top of that, you get your own personal account manager. So what do? You head over to betus.com today, use that promo code YouTube150, and you'll get 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% sign-up bonus on your next two, up to $2,000. Again, sign up at betus.com, use the code YouTube150 to claim that offer. And thanks to BetUS for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. 23-15 was the final at SoFi tonight. Dolphins beat the Rams. Rams fall to 4-5. Dolphins, who were reeling, suddenly are getting off the canvas with Tua back in there. They're now 3-6. Both these teams are on the Niners' schedule in the second half of the year. What'd you think of the Monday Nighter?
Oh, man. I was surprised. I thought the Rams would win home game. I thought, they'd win the game. But definitely the Dolphins aren't going down without a fight. Tua's come back. They're kind of feeling like they're trying to put together, a salvage type season. They're going to keep fighting. Niners play them both. Hopefully the Niners can beat them both. But the Rams, man, they looked awful. I thought they just were so flat on offense. Matt Stafford was abysmal tonight. The offense was just dookie, Larry. It was dookie.
Yeah, they look bad. I mean, the Rams, they have Puka and they have Kupp and they have Stafford and they have Steve Avila back, but they just look done. I don't know. I mean, they look like they're just going through the motions. And they've gotten some decent draft picks on defense, but they're just not a very good team this year. And I'm not sure exactly why, but the Niners get the Rams at Levi's, and they get the Dolphins at Levi's, right? That was at
in
Levi's.
Miami. That's
in
Miami. I wanted to go to that one Christmas weekend, but travel plans for that one it's crazy. Yeah, so I'm not going to that one.
This guy Debtopia says, I love it when the Rams lose. Oh, we got this one from Debtopia. Congrats, Raj on 30K. 30K on the gram, on the tube. Where are you on the gram, though? You're way over.
Oh, man. I hit like over 1,000 followers yesterday. We're at 387. I think we're closing in on 400K, Larry.
You're not buying your followers, are you?
No, I don't. No, definitely not buying any followers, man. It's all organic.
You're not buying subs. You're not buying followers.
That's the crazy thing. It's all organic. Like the followers, like the people that follow me, I love them all, man. It's crazy how much engagement we get. So yeah, I don't buy a follower.
Well, it's not crazy. You're the man. Are you kidding me? You're the freaking man. And Rob O says, "Welcome to the channel that never rests." Thank you. That I do like I like the fact that people feel like we're just constantly doing stuff, but in reality, this is the first time we've streamed today. I actually, my second time. I streamed this morning with Damon. I was going to stream with Grant today, but Grant was flying back from Tampa, so we've moved that. The Cone Kruger extravaganza this week will be probably Thursday morning or possibly Friday. We'll figure it out, but it'll be probably Thursday or Friday.
Does Grant buy followers? I heard a rumor. I don't know. Does he? I don't think he.
I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing.
I don't think he does. I think people just like I saw this. I saw someone post about it. Like there's spikes in content. Like honestly, there's times where like holy crap, people follow me. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of people coming in. And then just there's lulls. It's just when it's time and people want to follow Niner News, they'll follow everybody, no matter.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I don't do is I don't pocket watch my cohorts or competitors or whatever you want to call us. I don't do that. I just don't do it. One, not because I don't care. It's just because I don't have any time.
Yeah,
I don't have any time to do it. Between covering the Niners, driving back and forth to Santa Clara from Walnut Creek, having basic fitness, watching the games, rewatching the games. I don't watch other people as much as I watch the Niners. I watch the Niners, and then I all my content is off of having watched the game, the all 22, the rewatch. I'm going to go through the game 3-4 times a week. I just don't have a lot of time, and I value several other content creators. I think there's several really, really good ones, and I would like to watch them if I had more time, but I'm so busy putting out my own content that I just don't have a lot of time to watch as much as I want to watch. But I don't get into subs and followers and this and that. There's, we've had epic months where we've picked up lots and this and that. So I'm never going to judge anybody on that. I'm not going to presume innocence or guilt on any of that. Bay Area Chris says, Krug, was there a Niners Nightly this evening? I can't seem to regularly find the show on your or the Sports Leaders channel. Yes, well, it is on the Sports Leaders YouTube channel, but it's also on the Sports Leader. So, you can catch it on KMBR 680 on the AM dial, 104.5 on the FM dial. And yes, we had a Niners Nightly like we do every weeknight from 6 to 7. And I would encourage all of you guys on YouTube to come on over to the radio or iHeartRadio or the KMBR YouTube channel and watch Niners Nightly. Normally, I have a guest tomorrow night. Dave Softy Mahler is going to be on from KJR in Seattle, and we'll look ahead to Niners Seahawks. Tonight, I just wanted to take phone calls. So all we did was take phone calls. We got calls all night long. I think they have like 6 or 7 lines, and we had them ringing all night long, or all hour long, I should say. So anyway, yeah, we did have Niners Nightly, and hopefully you can find it. All right, Raj, what'd you think of the game? Overall, Niners get the win, but what'd you think of it?
That was an ugly win, but hey, I'm going to take it. A win's a win. It wasn't pretty. It was gritty. End of the day, man, you got to escape. Sometimes you win those games. But the Niners have won a lot of those types of games lately. It's like they keep letting teams stick around, and they got to stop doing it. Special teams was abysmal, like it has been all year, and that's a concern to me. I feel like Christian McCaffrey coming back was awesome. It was great to see him back. I think he opened it up. I think they're still trying to adjust to that. We saw a little bit more kind of passes over the middle, little dump off plays. I want to see a little bit more kind of, pepper in the middle, dink and duck. I don't mind it. Let it open up the offense. Use a little bit more, passes out the backfield. Maybe, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Mason and Garendo. But I feel like as, he gets a little bit more acquainted to the team and gets a little bit more, revved up, I think the play action will open up. But that was an ugly loss, man. 9 points lost off of missed field goals. You can't have that. Red zone's still an issue. But I'm just happy they won, Larry. I'm just happy they won.
I mean, anyway, first of all, Lombardi put it out on Twitter. I don't always agree with Dave, but I definitely agreed with this one. And he's just like, people don't realize how hard it is to win in the NFL. They just assume that you're just going to win. You can't assume anything in the NFL. It's really, 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 really hard to win in the NFL. That's one. Two, if the Niners had made their field goals, they win this game 32-20. if one of the three, they took 6 field goal attempts. If, I don't know, maybe one of them had been a touchdown and the other 2 field goals, now you're adding 13 points to this, right? You've got 2 field goals and a touchdown. And instead of 23, it's 36-20, and it's kind of a blowout. And if all of a sudden you get 2 touchdowns in there, now you've scored over 40 points, and it's a real blowout. So the score is deceiving, because the Niners, if they just make those field goals, they win this game by 12, by 2 scores. And then the other thing about football, and you see it all the time, I mean, if you get up by a point, all right, it's no big deal. But if you get up by a touchdown, now the other team's got to take some chances. If you get up by 10 or 11, you get up by 2 scores. Now they really got to take chances. Well, what happens when you really take chances? You turn it over, and now the game snowballs on you, and you potentially get routed. So, yeah, it was 23-20. They had their opportunities to put the thing on ice, and they just couldn't do it because Moody kept missing field goals, and they kept losing opportunities. The special teams is a disaster. I don't know what to say about it. It's just bad. I mean, does nobody... Schneider, have you talked to Darrell Luter about that play? Have you specifically talked to Darrell Luter about that play? Because he didn't look like he knew what he was doing on that play. That's one.
Lost. Yeah.
2, I got a number of thoughts on this game. One, I love the way that Purdy played in the second half. Brock Purdy was productive, and he did it without a run game. The Niners averaged 3.4 yards per carry. Purdy threw for 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9.8 yards per attempt. The Niners are 4-0 this year when Purdy himself doesn't turn it over, 16-0 all time when he doesn't turn it over. So that was the key in this game. He didn't turn it over, though he tried. He led a game-winning drive in the final 41 seconds of the fourth quarter on the road. That was impressive. His touchdown pass to Kittle was a fucking dime. I mean, that was just a beautiful play. That's one of the greatest plays of his career. The 30-yard blind throw to CMC was one of the greatest plays of his career as well.
Nice.
He struggled with ball placement and zip in the first half. I didn't feel like he had the right zip. I didn't feel like the timing was right. And his ball placement was a little all over the place. He missed twice on the first drive. But now against Tampa, he's 3-0 with 7 touchdowns and no picks. And it was weird. It was a weird broadcast because, one, Tom Brady, I love Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. He sucks. Tom Brady sucks.
I mean, seriously, he sucks, man.
He
Just
sucks.
He's good at football doesn't mean he's good. He's so bad.
He's so bad. He's so bad. And it was awkward when they were talking about Purdy's 2 previous wins because Tom's so competitive that he couldn't admit that he himself got beat 35-7 by Purdy. So they referenced Purdy's starts against the Bucs, but Tom never was like, "Hey, man, I was here and I got my ass kicked." It's
he didn't acknowledge it. Yeah,
you've won 7 Super Bowls. You can't acknowledge that Brock Purdy beat you? I mean, that's really weird. And that made me feel like, what's up with Brady? And then Brady also had a couple of just ridiculous statements that were just wrong, like factually wrong. So the fact that they dumped Olsen off the number 1 team to go to Tom.
Yeah.
If I was Olsen, I'd be pissed. I'd be really pissed because I'm way better than Tom Brady.
Because he's Tom Brady. So they thought he was going to be the GOAT of announcing. He's got a long way to go to get there.
Oh, he's awful. He's truly awful. And I'm predisposed to want to like him because I like him, but I don't like him on the broadcast. But from this game though, a couple things that stood out to me, Raj. One, why did it have to go from Mason and Garendo sharing time to CMC's back and those guys are banished? They both got 1 touch. What were they even doing there? Now I get it on Mason because he had the AC joint. Maybe they want to rest it, but I don't get why you have a game breaking back like Garendo and you don't give him you give him 1 touch. What are you trying not to break the game open? I mean, it's like, so I don't like that. Okay. I thought that the Niners may have gone back to Jake Moody, a tad prematurely.
Mhm.
Anders Carlson went 5 for 5. And this guy, when he got hurt, when Moody got hurt, I interviewed him last week. I said, how's the ankle feel? And he's like, well, I still feel a little pain when I kick. Well, then why are you kicking when Carlson was 5 for 5? So they dumped Carlson. Now he's a Jet. And 6 field goal attempts in a single game, 6. So the red zone's still a major problem. Yeah. Shanahan, I love Shanahan, but I think he's too conservative at times. Why are you punting in the first half on 4th and 7 from the 39? Go for it. Go for it. I mean, I want to see, go for it. I mean, who cares? You give them the ball at the 37. It's almost like, so what? So they still got to drive the whole rest of the field. I know they buried him inside the 5, but I mean, come on. I mean, you got to score points. Okay. That's what happens is when the Niners get beat, they miss scoring points. They don't score in the red zone. And then they get rolled over in the second half by a team that just scores a few points. Yeah. So I didn't love the fact that he went to kick a field goal on the 39-yard line. As far as the rest of the game, I mean, the Niners got some yards after the catch. I don't understand why George Kittle is not utilized in the passing game when you don't have Ayuk. You don't have Ayuk. You need another big-time receiver right now. You have one. His name is George Kittle.
Give him
and
20
instead, he's a good blocker. Go find another strong inline blocker. I don't care if it's a guard, a tackle, a tight end, a defensive lineman. Go find somebody who's a good blocker and free George up to run more pass routes. Without Ayuk, you need another weapon. 4 targets for Kittle, and he caught 3 balls for 57 yards and a touchdown. You're wasting. your all-pro tight end having him block. Let freaking Saubert block. And then I'm looking at this tight end group. Kittle is a receiver and a blocker. He's an all-around tight end. The rest of the guys are half tight ends. Saubert can't catch it all. He's a blocker. Tongas can't block it all. He's a receiver. Braden Willis can't block it all. He's a receiver. You don't need Tongas and Braden Willis. You got to have another blocker, somebody who can block. And Mason Pline is a nice young tight end. He's also a receiver. So you have receiver Pline, receiver Willis, receiver Tongas. The one blocker you have is Saubert. And then Kittle can do it all. But I mean, get a blocking tight end and put him out in the pattern.
Should have kept Charlie Warner. Should have kept Charlie Warner because Kittle deserves at least 10 targets. This man on any other team would be targeted like 10 times at least. This guy is a generational tight end, Larry. He is too good to be throwing him to him 3 times a game.
Go get somebody. Blake Bell's a free agent. Get the Belldozer. Get somebody. Get a blocking tight end and put George in the pattern for crying out loud. That's one. Yeah. The other one is I was watching this last night. I'm so disgusted that the Niners kissed off on Azeez Al-Shaair for Javon Hargrave. Azeez Al-Shaair is fast. He's instinctive. He's incredibly passionate. He's smart. And he was a 49er find. And they let him out the door. They let him walk away so they could go get Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave is not a zit on the ass of Azeez Al-Shaair. I mean, Javon Hargrave has got big cash, and that's it. Azeez Al-Shaair is the truth. Azeez Al-Shaair runs 4.5 and just, can run down Jahmyr Gibbs. After watching Azeez Al-Shaair chase down Jahmyr Gibbs and knowing that Jahmyr Gibbs and the Lions most likely are the team that stand between the Niners and a return trip to the Super Bowl, I sure would love to have Azeez Al-Shaair when next time the Niners play the Lions, but they're not going to have him. And it's like, you got rid of this guy. Why? It's like he was a totally dominating linebacker, and you got rid of him because, you don't like depth? I mean, they had 3 awesome linebackers, and now they have 1 because Greenlaw's hurt, Azeez is in Houston, and Warner's still doing his thing. So, I mean, that was frustrating as hell watching that Lions game last night and watching Azeez do that. And then And then the other thing, of course, is the Debo, or well, the other thing I got to mention first of all is that the biggest Niner right now, as far as the way he's playing, is Juwan Jennings. I mean, my God, Juwan Jennings in the fourth quarter. I mean, 2nd and 8 from the 27. Niners up 20-17. Kalijah Cansey sacks Brock Purdy as he's trying to scramble. The ball pops out. Juwan Jennings jumped on it like he was like a saber-toothed tiger and there was a steak. I mean, he was like an absolute magnet to the football. And he got the fumble over Levante David, and that was a huge play. Now, the Niners missed the field goal after that. So, that wasn't the game-saving play. But here we go, 22 seconds left in the game. 1st and 10 from the 39. Purdy goes to JJ. He catches it at the 37, okay? And the defender's right there playing him inside shade, trying to force him to run out of bounds. But he knew he's such a freaking smart player. He's such a freaking competitive player that he lives for the W. So even though he made the catch, he knows where he is on the field. He knows what Moody's range is. Moody's missed 3 field goals. If JJ doesn't hustle from the 37 to the 25, he probably misses 4 field goals. Easy. Instead, JJ hustles 12 yards after the catch, dragged 2 defenders to get there, gets to the 25. They spike it at the 26, and on comes Moody for the game winner. JJ is spectacular,
he's
man.
the MVP of that game last night. I think so, because
he's
if they don't get
biggest,
that extra yards, Moody does not make that, because he barely made the winner. Kyle tells him in the locker room, "Oh, you went down the middle." I was like, "Are you serious?" Without those extra yards, they don't make that field goal. And you know what? Heads up play. This guy was making catch after catch. It was his first game in the X position yesterday. He took over Brandon Ayuk's role in the offense. He had 93 yards, 7 catches. This guy was absolutely fantastic. Anytime they needed a big catch, he did it. And that's what he's always done. He's so reliable. This guy was a 7th-round pick, Larry. This man, he's the $30 million receiver. Juwan Jennings is the $30 million wide receiver. And George Kittle, he's like a $30 million tight end. They need to give him the ball more. It's crazy that they don't utilize him enough. And as far as Azeez Al-Shahir, I wish they would have kept him. I remember that year because, you had Greenlaw, Warner, and Al-Shahir. And it was like, okay, you want to make sure you couldn't pay them all. I think they had just extended Greenlaw that earlier in that year, and they were like, "Oh well, Al-Shahir can go become a superstar somewhere else." Fuck that! They should have kept him. But at the end of the day, their linebacker room was crowded. They drafted D. Winters and Jalen Graham, so we thought things were going to be on the up and up. But D. Winters is often injured. He just hasn't really panned out. And Jalen Graham, they treat him like Dante Johnson when they cut him all the time. So I don't know, man. We need Dre Greenlaw back absolutely pronto. Because, Devondre Campbell had his best game as a Niner yesterday.
He did.
But it's not enough. They need to get a Dre Greenlaw because this run defense, Larry, is not up to par. And you're right. Hargrave was an issue when he was when he was healthy. He's been, unhealthy now. So that run defense has taken a hit. I feel like with Greenlaw, it'll improve. But I don't know how much it can improve because who knows how healthy Greenlaw is going to be when he comes back. How effective is he going to be? So that definitely is an issue. I wish they had another just strong linebacker because they used to have 3 really, really, really intense linebackers. Now you have Fred Warner who's trying to play. He's trying to pick up the slack for Greenlaw, and that is tough. You can't put it all on Fred. He's great, but eventually, he tires out. He missed a few plays last night, and he's got a lot of stress on his shoulders carrying this defense. But they made the plays when it mattered most. Evan Anderson, he's a little nice piece in the middle. He made a big play yesterday that honestly probably saved the game. Renardo Green, the rookies, every week somebody steps up. They've been playing great. So I feel like there are some things on this team that you're looking at, you're like, man, it's so good, but just inconsistencies across the board. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. But overall, I feel like the 49ers have all the elements. They just got to fine tune things. And you're right. The play calling sometimes is so frustrating. You're like, what are you doing? I like the checkdowns. They used it a little bit more. I want to see more. I haven't really seen much play action, but I think it's because they didn't have CMC. Maybe they'll incorporate it a little bit more because Brock's been having to really create with his legs a lot this year. I need to see a little bit more of, getting the yak. They went away from the yak all year. It got a little bit yesterday. You got the speed. Use those speed guys instead of dropping, Debo in the backfield. He doesn't have the speed anymore, or using a screen to him. I'd rather see Cowling or Ricky Pearsall get those end arounds or screen passes. Use them in the offense more. Speed it up. Use your speed. You got Garendo, who's a fucking blazer, trailblazer. Let him cook. So I love CMC coming back, but I do think they should have utilized some of those other running backs. But I get it. Kyle said, he's the special player. He's the type of guy that it's hard not to get on the ball when he's in there. You could see a lot of space opened up because Jennings, he had a good game, but a lot of it was because, you saw CMC run a route. Boom, Jennings was open in space. So I feel like that was a big part of why Jennings had a bigger game. Also, he's freaking Juwan Jennings. He's great. So it was nice having CMC, but give him a little. You could have gave Garendo 3 carries. Why only give him 1?
I mean, it's like, why take a car that just got, a couple new tires and a rebuilt engine and take it cross country when you could really just drive it like 500 miles and then use another car for another 1,000 miles and then use another car for 1,000 miles? Why are you putting it all on CMC? Where's the wisdom in that? I mean, do you want this guy to be here for the rest of the year, or do you want to drive him into the ground and go back to Mason in 3 weeks? I mean, it's really weird how they will be all in on Mason and Garendo with no CMC, but as soon as CMC's back, it's like, we're not using those guys at all. It's like, and this is what Christian wants. I don't care what Christian wants.
Yeah, he does.
I care what Larry wants. Larry wants Garendo and Mason. I don't care about Christian. I care about Larry. Larry wants Garendo and Mason and McCaffrey. I want to mix. I don't want to see this guy have 3 freaking awesome weeks and then week 14 or 15, he's not there. And now you got nothing, I mean, do you want to get him? Do you want to nurse this guy through the remainder of the regular season and have him for the playoffs? Or are you trying to run him into the ground? I mean, otherwise, I don't get it. I don't get it. You couldn't use Mason. You couldn't use Garendo. You can't spot these guys. It's all or nothing. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
He was sick on the sidelines, Larry. Like if you could read body language, CMC was like, why am I not on the that's the type of guy he is, though. His mentality is like, I'm here, I rehab myself so I can play. I'm like you, like I want him it's okay to take a few plays off, my boy, but not in his mind. He wants to be the top of the top because he trains himself to be able to play a full game. Like I think 85% for him, 85% of the snaps is like an F in his mind. That's a pretty good, dosage. First game back, but Kyle needs to call the shots a little bit more and say, hey, look, you're going to rest a little bit because I need you for the playoffs. If we don't have you in the next couple of weeks, we ain't even making the playoffs.
I mean, 18 touches. I mean, if you ask me before the game, what do I think? I'd say, well, I'd like to keep his carries under 15. They did that. But then I was thinking that they would have 8 or 10 carries for Garendo, 8 or 10 carries for Mason. Instead, those guys got one. That's not enough. It's just not enough. And there's no reason to use CMC that way at this point, especially after what he's been through. Come on. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense. I'm going to share the screen because Richard Sherman weighed in on the Debo Pepper thing, and he's got an interesting take. Here's Dick Sherman.
And people sympathy for you miss one kick. You're like, hey, it's the rust. Then you miss 2 kicks. You're like, all right now. And then the third kick, you start to have a lot of questions. When Debo Samuel goes up to him and says, lock in, and apparently that's what he said, you don't defend him from that. You don't get to defend him from accountability from the team. If I give up a touchdown pass and one of my teammates come on like, hey, come on now, lock in now. Somebody's not going to come in and save me. You got to be tough. This is the National Football League. Do your job. And that's what Debo Samuel was coming to say. This is a high-level football team. This is a team that's been to Super Bowls. There's a standard of play. And to miss 3 field goals after all the work that goes into those drives and to get the ball down the field, you got to make the kicks. This game should not have been this close.
Woo, spicy.
Well, I mean, okay, but once again, what's Kyle Shanahan for? What's the special teams coach for? Why even have coaches? Do you really, Richard, really? That's your stance? So if let's just say it was a couple of years ago, and instead of a rookie kicker, let's just say it was Robbie Gould. Okay, Robbie Gould. Should Robbie Gould get in the face of, a corner who just got burned and be like, hey, let him know about it? Hey, don't get burned. No, let the DB coach do that. I mean, do we not have any understanding of what, whose role? Know your role and shut your mouth. Know your role and shut your mouth. Isn't that kind of the all-encompassing rule? Know your role on the team and let the people whose job it is. Do you think should Debo go up to, somebody who's hurt and give him he's the captain of the team. Should he go up to somebody who's hurt and give him a physical examination? No. Why? Because he's not the doctor. But he's the captain, Krug. So what? He's not the doctor. The doctor does that. Okay. Should Brandon Ayuk leave the sidelines and run into the ticket office and tell people who can and can't buy tickets to the game? No. But he's one of the captains, Krug. He's not a ticket broker. He's a wide receiver. Stay in your lane. Do what you're supposed to do. You're a specialist. Everybody plays a special role. You think Nick Bosa is going to tell, Dre Greenlaw how to play linebacker? No. He's a defensive end. He's going to rush the passer. Now, if he wants to tell Drake Jackson how to rush the passer, that's cool. But he can't tell a linebacker how to play linebacker. It's a different job. And it's like, you know what? It's not the worst thing that Debo got in this guy's face, but it's not his place to get in his face. And you know what? When you're pointing the fingers, I mean, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. I mean, do we need to review the truth of the situation? Here is the truth of the situation. Debo is averaging 3.1 yards per carry. So he ain't going that good. He's got one rushing touchdown, the same number as Kyle Juszczyk. He's got one receiving touchdown, despite the fact that he's played the whole year. The same amount of receiving touchdowns that Ricky Pearsall has in like a couple games. Debo's not even averaging 60 yards per game receiving. He's got 2 total touchdowns. He doesn't separate against man coverage, and you're going to tell the kicker how to do his job? Bro, you ain't going that good. Just do your job and let the kicker worry about doing his job. And guess what? You're not making it better. It doesn't. I mean, I use the comparison to like a wife and a husband. Let's say your wife tomorrow burns dinner. Okay. Are you going to go up to her and be like, hey, honey, lock in.
You might.
Lock in, honey. Lock in. Stop. I just went to Lenardi's. I paid a mint for that steak and you just burned it. Lock in, honey. I mean, come on. You think that's going to go well? No. And she's going to say, F off, asshole. You make the dinner next time. And it's like the same thing I would say if I was Jake Moody. Hey, next time if you can kick, then go ahead, go right ahead. If not, how about shut the hell up? I don't know. To me, it's just because you're one of the captains on the team doesn't mean that you can berate anybody who fails. It's just not the way it works. It's not the way it should work. That's for sure.
You know what? If she burnt 3 steaks, Larry, what if she burnt 3 steaks in a row, my guy? Listen, I'm going to disagree with you on this.
Lock in, honey. Lock in.
Look. I usually agree with you, but on this one, I think he took the L on this one. I think Debo was in the right. I agree with Richard Sherman. I think he kept it 100. And you know what? Because Sherman later on that show, he said, even kickers need to be held accountable. He does. At the end of the day, what are we holding this man's hand? Are we giving him a free pass? He was a 3rd-round pick, Larry.
But whose job is it to hold him accountable? The wide receiver or the special teams?
The special teams coach is terrible this year. He's probably
but it's his job. It's his job. I mean, can we at least decide whose job is what?
Captain. I don't want to hear that he's only scored 2 touchdowns. This man missed 3 field goals. You're right earlier when you said maybe he wasn't ready because his ankle was still. He probably shouldn't have been in that game. Honestly, 100%. You had a sprained ankle on your kicking leg. Lock in, Moody. You don't want to miss those 3 field goals because they almost cost us the game. Debo was frustrated. The whole team was probably frustrated. He spoke for the team, the fans.
Does that make it better?
Jerry Rice, both of those guys have been on record. Both of those guys went on record and said they would have hit their teammate back in the day. He just did what Jerry Rice said he was going to do, and everybody agreed with him last week. And now Debo put it into action, and the people, I can't. No, Debo was in the right. Stand up for business. And you know what? Jake Moody made that kick after Debo came at him.
So tomorrow, so next week against Seahawks, all of a sudden Debo drops a pass in the end zone. Now Robert Beal can go up to him and be like, "Dude, lock in." No, come on.
Maybe not.
That's
Robert
not.
Beal,
That's not. It's
Kittle.
inappropriate. It's inappropriate. It doesn't make it better.
Somebody can go up to him and say, "Yo, figure this shit out." But Debo is a veteran on this team.
Do we think he's not trying? I mean, if he's not trying, that's one thing, Raj. If he's trying, what are you doing?
I just
why are you putting more pressure on a pressure situation?
He's already ever since he was drafted. This is the 49ers' fault for drafting him, because the moment he was drafted in the 3rd round, the pressure was as high as it can be. Any kicker drafted in the NFL in the 3rd round is going to have the pressure of the world on him. Like, that was the Niners' fault for drafting him in the first place. They should have got an undrafted kicker like the Lions. That guy is locked in. Want to talk about locked in? And even Kyle Shanahan said today, the Tabor Pepper overreacted. The Tabor Pepper thing. Who is Tabor Pepper? You're a long snapper, bro. You're a long
dude, come
snapper.
on. Stop that. That's bullshit. That is bullshit.
No.
He's on the team. He's on the team. I don't care if he's the long snapper. So what? Your credibility within the team is all tied to exactly what your role is? No.
Yeah,
no.
Some players have a bigger role than others.
No.
Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
Look, the bottom line is this. You're defending a guy, Raj, who didn't just say something. He hit Tabor Pepper. Now, if you want to say something, then say something. Fine. It's not his place, but Debo wanted to inject himself. Fine. But then Tabor Pepper pushed back, and now you're going to hit your teammate on the field, and you're going to endorse that.
That probably shouldn't have put his hands on him. I'm not going to say he.
Well, that was part of it. He did put his hands on him, so you can't say Debo was right.
He didn't expect Tabor to go and react the way he did. He told him to lock in, and Tabor got offense to it. So Debo's like, "Yo, get out of my face, man." That he probably should have calmed himself down there.
He never should have put his hands on Tabor Pepper.
It was a liability. This team has been working their ass off, and they're going to lose this game again from the special teams. No, I think Debo is in the right, man. You got to hold the kicker accountable.
Okay, well, you know what? Who basically anybody can hold anybody accountable at any time, according to you.
No, he's a star player. He's a superstar. He's a captain.
What about the owner?
Okay.
Can Dr. John York walk into the locker room and tell Debo he screwed up? Can Denise DeBartolo York, is it appropriate for Denise DeBartolo York to yell at Juwan Jennings? No, it's not. And she owns the team. She owns the team. It's not appropriate.
That's 100% right. 100% right.
No, but it's not. It's appropriate. That's what we're talking about. Was it appropriate or not? It wasn't appropriate. It wasn't appropriate.
The way it came out, probably in the heat of the moment, you're going to do things you probably look back on and be like, but I think the message Debo was trying to send was appropriate. To tell him, like, hey, we can't be missing any more field goals. Like, that's what he was telling him.
But it's not his job to do that, Raj.
His job as a player, a teammate, a captain. If he didn't care about this team and to win, he would have said nothing, Larry. He would have just went about his business, collected his check. The fact that he did that, Larry, tells me he wants to win games. He's tired of it. The window is closing, Larry. The fact that this team has went to the Super Bowl and lost, they know the pressure. If they lose this game to the Tampa Bay fucking Buccaneers, their season is cooked. That's it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Debo's statement put more or less pressure on him?
I think it put less, because I think
Come on.
Moody knew he missed 3 field goals. Now he has Debo saying, "Yo, don't fucking miss another field goal." He's
and Debo sounding him out and on the team.
Tabor put more pressure on him. Tabor Pepper.
But wait a second. So Debo, you don't think Debo calling him out put more pressure on the situation?
No, I think Tabor Pepper, because at the end of the day, if Debo wanted to walk up to him and say, "Lock in," that's all he was trying to do. Tabor interjecting himself created more problems than it had to do.
But he's attacking Tabor Pepper.
No,
everybody knows football knows that the kicker and the holder and the snapper are like a team within a team.
It's between Debo and Jake Moody. Tabor should have stayed away, and it would not have been an issue. Tabor Pepper interjecting himself as the third wheel blew everything out of proportion. Tabor Pepper stays out of that. It's a nothing burger.
Yeah, but here's the thing about it. He's backing his guy. He's defending his guy. He felt like Debo crossed the line, Raj. He felt like Debo was unprofessional in his criticism. He felt that the special teams coach is the guy who's in charge, not Debo Samuel. And it's like, this doesn't work. All I would say to anybody on any of these discussions, just carry this out to your logical conclusion and tell me if it's right. So if it's okay for any player to call out any other player, then what the heck? You would have players potentially calling out players all the time. There's somebody who fails on almost every play. So it's not appropriate for guys who to throw stones when they themselves make mistakes. Debo doesn't want other people calling him out when he picks the wrong. Running backs have holes. Hey, you know what? Go right, go left. You know what? I bet you there was a time where he should have ran right and he ran left. Does Debo want to be sounded out in front of the team on national TV?
Sure,
probably
will call
not.
him out if he makes a mistake, but he's a vocal leader of this team. That's why he's a captain, because he has spoken up. You got guys like Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. Those guys, I expect them to call people. If you make a mistake, I need you to call people out. That's the captain. And you know what? It's not the only team that's ever did that. Travis Kelce a couple of weeks ago called out Andy Reid. Bro, you have Tom Brady through his whole career. He used to rip people a new one. You make a mistake, he's on your ass. That's what good players do. That's what teams that want to win do. Jerry Rice said it himself. Jesse Sapalo today tweeted it out, bro. At the end of the day, Debo is frustrated that Jake Moody couldn't make a field goal. His job is to kick it. Tabor should have stayed in his lane. Jake Moody's a grown-ass man. He could have stood up for himself if he needed to. That's it.
Well, I totally disagree. I mean, I don't know how. So now anytime anybody fails, everybody can just unload on them. And it's all under the guise of like, you know what? I care. So I can just motherfuck anybody who screws up. And it's all under the guise of, you know what? Hey man, I care. You know what? Hey, you just fumbled. Fuck you. Are you piece of shit? You unbelievable sack of shit. You fucking suck. Oh, but you know what? It's okay, because you know what? I'm on the team and I'm just calling them out. I'm holding them accountable. No, it's not a positive thing. It can't happen. If everybody else did that, you wouldn't have a good rapport in your locker room. You just named all these other captains. Guess what they all have in common? They didn't do this. Okay. You mentioned that Kittle didn't call him out. Bosa didn't call him out. CMC didn't call him out. Trent Williams didn't call him out. So if all these other captains didn't call him out, are they not doing their job, or are they respectful of the fact there's a hierarchy here? And the special teams coach's job is, to me, what Debo did, insulted Jake, and he doesn't need to be insulted. He needs to make kicks, but he doesn't need to be insulted. And he insulted the snapper and the holder because they're a team. And who he really insulted is the guy whose job it is to critique him, the special teams coach. And just because your special teams is bad doesn't mean that it's okay for Debo Samuel to then say, fuck him, I'm just taking his job over and I'll do it for him. That's not, you can't have that. You can't have that. You can't have everybody going off half-cocked, just doing everything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Mike Shanahan's got multiple rings on his finger, Raj. He's won Super Bowls. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't walk in and start yelling at Brian Griese, hey, you do it this way. This is the way we did it in Denver. But he may want to win. He may be passionate. He may even be right, but it's not the right thing to do. And that I would say is this isn't the right thing to do for everybody. I mean, if everybody did this, Raj, just imagine what this room would be like if every time a guy made a mistake, there was other players in their face calling them out. And it's like the guy felt bad. If you feel like he's jaking it, fine. But if he's not jaking it, what are we doing? He's trying to make the kicks, and you're just icing him further. Now, he made the last kick. But what if he missed?
Debo knocked some sense into him because he stood on business. He held him accountable. Again, I'm not saying everybody should do this and that. Certain players can do it. I will say this: he shouldn't have put his hands on him. I'm not going to.
That was part of it.
That was wrong. He should have came. But I think the reason why he crashed out the way he did, because Tabor Pepper interjected himself. If Tabor doesn't get involved, I think it's a whole different story. But at the end of the day, somebody needs to tell Jake Moody, Make the damn field goals. You missed 3 in a row. This team,
his name is Brian Schneider.
Well, he's not doing his job, Larry. He's a soft.
But that's who's responsible. Is he not?
Get him out of there.
But is that the guy responsible? Yes.
Get him out of there if he's not going to sit.
Okay, but I'm just saying right now, until he's out of there, he's the guy that should be making the criticism, not Debo Samuel.
I hope we get an announcement tomorrow that he's fired, because I need to post that tomorrow.
He's not going to be fired. They're not firing him. They're not firing him. They're not firing him.
We definitely didn't agree on this one, Larry.
Well, no, I mean, I don't need to. We don't have to agree on everything. But I don't really think you're thinking this through clearly.
I am. I don't think you're.
No. Because you're giving license to people to do anything they want if they're the better player on the team, and that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. It's not the way it should work. But that's for the coach. I mean, it's like anything else, Raj. If you're teaching a class, if you're teaching a class in school and somebody breaks the rules, who gets to hold the student accountable? The kid who sits behind him in the class, or the teacher? Or the principal.
This is a football
I know, but
game.
I'm just saying there's a hierarchy in life. There's a hierarchy in business. There's going to be a hierarchy. People you don't get to go off half cocked and just do whatever you want.
Super, like assistant manager. Debo's like one of the assistant managers of the team, and he's
barely even doing his job. No, he's being paid a ton. He's got 2 touchdowns.
On Debo. Debo had 110 yards against Minnesota. He had a touchdown against the Jets. He had over 100 yards against Seattle. He's not the number 1 option, but when his number's called upon, he does his job. And also, this man had pneumonia. He came and played after he had pneumonia. This guy's been battling his ass off through the season. He's trying to stand on business and do his job. Yeah, he has 2 touchdowns. Okay, but he's not missing 3.
He doesn't beat man coverage. Have you seen his separation numbers?
It's definitely
he doesn't separate at all. Should somebody get in his face and tell him that he should separate?
Maybe they should.
No, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't get in his face and tell him to separate. You know why? Because the same thing that Jake Moody's doing is the same thing that Debo's doing. Debo's trying to separate. He's just not fast enough. Jake Moody's trying to kick it through the uprights. He's just not good enough. Or at least yesterday he wasn't good enough. And nobody yelling at him is going to make him good enough. And nobody's yelling at Debo is going to make him faster. So you don't yell at guys. I don't know. To me, I have no problem with the yelling as much. But to me, when the whole thing included Debo yelled, Tabor Pepper yelled, and then Debo got physical. You can't do that. You just can't. So he's not in the right. He's in the wrong. I don't care if Jesse said it, Rice said it. They didn't get physical with their teammates, or if they did, it was wrong then and it's wrong now. I don't see how it could possibly be right.
That's soft take, Larry. That's soft, man.
No, what's soft about it? What's soft? You're supposed because Debo was a good receiver 3 years ago. He now can run down the kicker in 2024.
He's still a good player. Ridiculous. He's still a key part of the team, man.
No, he's not. He's not nearly as good. Raj, he's one of the worst players in the league as far as separating against man coverage. Last I checked, he's a receiver.
All right. When he gets 2 touchdowns in the next game, we'll talk about it.
But he's got 2 touchdowns total for the year. I'm just saying, he's got 2 touchdowns. You can't call out a guy for not producing when you're not producing.
Well, he does need to step it up. You're right. But at the end of the day, I think he was in the right to call out and try to motivate. He was trying to motivate Moody. That's it.
He's living in a glass house and he's throwing a stone.
The issue is
what's happening.
Tabor Pepper, stay away. That's it.
No, it has no. Tabor Pepper was just felt like Debo crossed a line. And he was just pushing back on it. And that's okay. If it's okay for Debo to draw a line randomly, it's okay for another guy on the team to push back against that line. And the guy who made the mistake was Debo, because then he got physical with Tabor Pepper. I mean, come on. And why are we defending Debo? Because he's good. Because he was good a couple of years ago? Because he's a bigger name on the team? Because Tabor Pepper's the long snapper? I mean, come on.
It even has to do with that.
That's what you said. You made it seem like because Tabor Pepper's the long snapper, it's like he's like a non-factor on the team. So come on. Every guy on the team is on the team. Okay. I mean, come on. We can't be ridiculous about this. I get it. There's better players on the team, but just because you're Jerry Rice doesn't mean that you can yell at Darryl Pollard. You're Jerry Rice. Let Ray Rhodes yell at Darryl Pollard. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? No.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to agree to disagree, Larry.
You think it's the receiver's spot to discipline the kicker?
I don't think it's the receiver.
Come on, Raj.
I think it's at the moment, Debo was the star player, and I'm not going to sit there and agree with your take because I don't agree with
But
it.
I mean, but because it makes no sense to say that the receiver is in charge of disciplining the
it
kicker.
could have been Kittle. It could have been anybody.
But it
At
wasn't.
that moment, Debo was the guy. Debo was the guy that came up. I'm sure a lot of other players were frustrated. The one guy that acted up on those frustrations was Debo. It was the heat of the moment.
And the point and what we're discussing is whether or not it was appropriate. And I think it's clearly inappropriate.
I think it was. Sometimes players, they're not going to be kumbaya best friends in a bad moment. Like, it's happened in many instances. I give you some examples. Travis Kelce, Tom Brady. It's happened around the league before. I've seen Patrick Mahomes yell people out and bitch them out. This end of the day, players are frustrated. Emotions are high. They're playing football. They're getting hit. They're frustrated. They're sweating. They're hurt and pain. They want to win the game. And this guy was losing the game for him. I mean, not on purpose. He wasn't doing it on purpose.
So you think? Are you trying to say that you think Debo wants to win more than Jake Moody?
Probably, yeah, I do.
No,
yeah, I do.
No, that's
Jake
ridiculous.
Moody's happy to come to the job and get kick field goals. And he seems like he doesn't care to me. I don't know.
Come on, Raj.
100%. Debo is locked in.
Debo cares more about winning than Jake
Moody.
How
hard it is to win a Super Bowl every day. He knows how hard it takes. Jake Moody's just happy to be there.
Oh no, come on. That's just that's just ridiculous. Why? Why? You haven't had one conversation with either guy and you've decided that Jake Moody's just happy to be there?
He just doesn't show any emotions to me. He doesn't. He's whatever about
it. What if he's stoic? What if he's there's stoic people that are good. Not everybody shows emotion. Everybody's different. I just think that let the people whose job it is do it. Don't try to do everything. It's basic. And it's like, where everybody, and this is the other thing too. It's like, he's acting like he cares more than Moody, which is ridiculous. And you happen to agree with that, which is even more ridiculous. They're with no evidence at all. I think the one thing that we can assume is that all of these guys want to win and they want to win desperately. And to try to parse that out as like, well, this guy wants to win, but this guy doesn't. That's just like, come on. There's no evidence that if Jake Moody came back early, you could say, from this injury, maybe they shouldn't have brought him back early.
He shouldn't have
maybe
been
it's on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
maybe that was the special teams coach's decision to bring him back. That's his fault again. But who knows?
The special teams coach, you want to fire the special teams coach.
I want him out of there tonight.
And you want to replace him with who?
I don't know who's available, but I need him out of there.
Because it's the special teams coach's fault?
He's been bad. It's not just this game, Larry. Every week have you been watching the games? Special teams has caused them to lose many games.
Yeah, but does that automatically mean it's the coach's fault? Robert Saleh was not a very good defensive coordinator, if you remember, until Nick Bosa was drafted. If you go look at the Niners' defensive numbers before Nick Bosa, Robert Saleh was not getting good results before Nick Bosa showed up. So was Robert Saleh a bad defensive coordinator and then suddenly a good defensive coordinator?
He was never a defensive coordinator. It took him a little time to get going, but he got going.
I just think that it's about players. It's about players. You win when you have good players. I think the coaches are nice. I think they matter, but I think you win when you have good players. It's not about the coach. So
if you had the shittiest coaches, but all your team players are great, you're going to win every game because you have great players. You need a good coach too, Larry.
Well, was Richard Hightower a good coach? They had him before. They didn't get anything done with him. Schneider was an awfully good special teams coach in Seattle.
But the thing is, they've been investing every offseason on special, we got special teams. The guy they got today, special teams player, special teams. They put an emphasis on special teams. I read that every year in the offseason. I read that headline. They put an emphasis on special teams. It doesn't look like they emphasize much because they're not doing good. I don't know.
The 49ers are completely mediocre as far as rushing the passer. Should they get rid of Chris Kocurek? They spend a ton of money. They've got a defensive line. They spend tons of resources.
Well, on that one,
and they're not getting it done. They're not getting it done. They're like 14th or 15th in sacks. They're like mid-pack in pressure rate. Should they fire Chris Kasarik?
No, because he's had a good track record. He's been great overall. But the problem is this year they have one good pass rusher. The rest of them, they aren't worth anything. The rest of those pass rushers are not good. And the interior
linebackers have not necessarily played all that well. Should they fire Johnny Holland?
No, definitely not. Their linebackers are missing Dre Greenlaw.
So you're saying it's about the talent.
It's about both. It's both. It goes both. You need good coaches and good players. You need both, Larry. You muted. You muted yourself, Larry.
So what we're really talking about is it's the same. It's is it the coaches or is it the players?
It's both.
So I mean,
you need good coaches, you need good players. You can't have shitty coaches. You can't have shitty players.
You're not at all pointing out the fact that Renardo Green and Malik Mustafa were special teams starters at the beginning of the year, and now because of the lack of depth, they have to start on defense, and thus they don't start on special teams. Don't you think that's hurt special teams?
Well, also they're better than the guys they replaced, so they needed those. They needed those guys in those.
But my point is that the players aren't good that replaced them. They were the plan on special teams, and now they aren't because they're playing defense.
You knew Renardo Green was going to be a starter down the line. Come on, you don't draft him in the second round without knowing he's going to be. They even said
down the line. I'm just saying the special teams has been bad, but part of the reason it's been bad is that you got a kicker that's not kicking it through the back of the end zone. You're the only team that has to have their coverage unit out there. And then you have 2 or 3 guys from your coverage units that are now starting on your defense. So now you have guys who have no experience on the coverage units. So a lot of the problems with the 49ers special teams are directly relatable to the players. So that's why Shanahan's going, I don't want to fire. I don't want to fire Schneider.
They should have prepared this team in the, they know what you're going to go through a season without injuries. Make sure you get players and personnel and make sure you coach everybody to the point where if there's an issue, you can kind of seamlessly transition. It's both, Larry. It's both players and the coaches. I'm not going to sit here and say all the coaches are to blame. I'm not going to say all the players are to blame because there are some players that are to blame. There are some coaches to blame at certain points, but it goes both ways, I feel.
Wait, that sounds like it goes whatever way you want to spin it.
No, it's both ways, Larry.
Because if you sometimes they have good coaches, but then they've lost a player, and then
you're going to sit here and tell me Chris Kasarik is not a good coach. This man has a great track record. Just because they're not getting pass rush this year,
they're not getting pass rush. They're not stopping the run.
Well, who's helping outside Nick Bosa? You're right. The talent on the
Leonard Floyd
on the pass rush is bad.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd had 9 sacks last year. He doesn't have 9 sacks this year.
Yeah, he's not.
So why is that Chris is not a good coach? I'm just saying that players. We're talking about players, and you just don't fire the coach just because the players aren't right. It's like otherwise you have cyclical. It's cyclical, Raj. Sometimes the players are good. Sometimes the players are bad. Doesn't mean. I mean, Bill Belichick's a great defensive coach, but guess what? When the Tom Brady walked away, and all of a sudden the players start to change, all of a sudden he wasn't getting the same results. He's still a great coach, but he didn't get the same results. I'm just saying, it's like if you want to run out the special teams coach, and they've got new guys on special teams that are not doing the job. What about running out other coaches whose players are also not doing the job? I mean, but no, because those guys are sacred cows.
Chris Kasarik has a good track record, whereas Schneider.
Schneider did too. According to the people in Seattle, Schneider was one of the best special teams coaches in football when he was there.
7 years ago, the game passed him by. He hasn't been good with the 49ers. Maybe he doesn't work out with this team. Maybe he just doesn't mesh with the way that they're calling plays. He was good in Seattle. That was Seattle. He's not good with the Niners.
I don't know. The NBC boxing. If you played the game on a high level, it happens more than we've seen. Listening to Larry, you can tell he hasn't played the game. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I did play the game. And I didn't play it at the pro level, but I've played the game. And I coached it in the pros, and I scouted it in the pros. So thank you. But thanks anyway. I just don't think it's okay to just do whatever you want to do because you are a pretty good player. I think you have to do, nobody else did what Debo did. And instead of instead of going, hey, Debo shouldn't have done that, Kyle loves Debo, so he's just going to be like, hey, I got no problem with that. But Kyle's answer was such spin. I mean, it was such obvious spin. Here's what Kyle said about it. This is his quote. I mean, this is comical. This is what he said about it. He said, Debo said, lock in, and challenged a guy he believes in. I mean, that is spin. That is that's really spinning it. To say, obviously, Tabor Pepper took offense to it. And Tabor's a pretty reasonable guy. I mean, I've interviewed Tabor a few times. He's not one of these guys that's constantly fighting in the locker room or going off half-cocked. And obviously, he didn't like it and pushed back on Debo. And then Debo crossed another line by turning it into a physical altercation, which you just can't do. You just can't do it. And then once again, if everybody else did what Debo did, would you have a better team or a worse team? And I don't think there's any doubt. If you had all these guys calling each other out and getting physical with each other on the field, that would be a bad situation for the team. So that's my barometer. We can leave it there. As far as this going forward, what do you do about special teams? Because outside of firing the coach, which is not going to happen, what do you do? Do you give Jake another look next week? What happens if he misses 2 or 3 next week? Do you put him on IR? I mean, now you got to have an idea of what's going on and how you're going to react to it. So if by chance he comes out next week against Seattle and misses 2 or 3 field goals, then what? And does that mean you're firing the special teams coach? He didn't miss those field goals. Or are you firing Jake because he missed those field goals? Or are you keeping Jake because you invested a 3rd-round pick in Jake? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this? It's like we're talking about one game, and now we want to fire people. Let's say you fire Schneider, and then Jake comes out next week and he misses 2 field goals. Then what? What do you do next?
Make sure you definitely got to get a new kicker. You definitely got to get a new kicker. Are you going to stick with him missing all those field goals?
I don't know. I mean, I think they are going to stick with him. I mean,
he's got to make it bottom line.
Seems to make it seem like there ain't no
if they get rid of
the
coach,
stick with him.
Regardless of the situation, if they stick with Jake Moody, which they are because they drafted a 3rd-round pick,
right?
He's got to fucking lock in. Bottom line, Debo's right. Lock in. Don't miss your kicks anymore. Bottom line, don't miss your kicks. Lock in.
What if he locks in and misses kicks? Misses 2 kicks.
Reevaluate the situation. Is his ankle 100%? They're going to have to revisit that. Maybe his ankle is not 100%. They might need to revisit that. But
has he done enough? Has he done enough to keep him around?
What's that?
Has he done enough to keep him around? I mean, that's the question. I mean, it's like what anybody can rip. And, there's lots of people in the chat who will be like, fucking fire this guy, fucking cut that guy. But the same people don't have any clue of who you go to next or what your next move is. They're just saying fire him. Anybody can say tear it down. Anybody can say tear it down. It takes skill. It takes no skill to tear anything down. I can take a sledgehammer to my kitchen tomorrow. I can destroy it. I can't be a contractor and build it back up, but I can destroy it. And that's what I get. The fans in football can only destroy. They can't ever build. So all the conversation is fire Schneider, fire Kyle, fire Moody, get rid of these guys. But nobody ever knows who to hire. It's always just fire. So then it's like, okay, we can fire everybody, but who are we going to hire? So if you get rid of the special teams coach, okay, who knows? You get another special teams coach. But if you get rid of Jake and you can't have Anders and you don't have Matthew Wright, is there a kicker that you can replace him with? Or are you just getting rid of your kicker and you got nothing? I don't know.
Bottom line, they should never have gotten rid of I just don't think they should have started Moody right away. I don't know why they pushed for him to come back. You even said you interviewed him and he said he was still in pain. I think they should have kept another week or 2 with the other kicker because he was making his kicks. He was fine. I mean, I know he didn't kick the ball off and he wasn't getting touchbacks, whatever, but he was doing a good job in terms of making field goals. I think.
Well, if we're going to defer to Kyle over here with Debo, wouldn't we defer to Kyle over here with Jake? Kyle said, hey, man, it's not an easy stadium to kick in, and the winds are kind of unpredictable. And, hey, man, let's just move on to next week. That was what he said. So should we, since Kyle was like, hey, Debo is to blame and Pepper was not to blame, we're going to go with him then. Shouldn't we go with him here where he says, hey, man, it's not on Moody. It's just it's a tough stadium and the wind and, he
the coach is not going to throw his kicker under the bus at this point with the way everything played out and how mental fragile everything is, the situation. I think taking the high road was the right choice for Kyle. I think he said it is what it is because at the end of the day, they won the game, Larry. Had they lost, maybe it's a different story. But I think Kyle did the right thing. Move on. Let's focus on next week and see if everything improves because they did win the game. And I think at the end of the day, they said they squashed the beef. Let's move on and let's see if he's right. Let's see what happens next week. If he says the beef is squashed, then I'm going to believe that the beef is squashed. And
the beef between Pepper and Debo, of course, is nothing. It's nothing. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. Why? Because it's a volatile game, type A personalities. It's no big deal. It's just about appropriate. It was inappropriate. That would be my argument. The Niners made a big move today, or not a big move, but a somewhat significant move. They signed a veteran cornerback, Nick McLeod, to the practice squad, and they cut Adrian Amos. What do you think? You like it?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good move. This guy, I was reading the reports on him. He didn't want to take a pay cut with the Giants, so they released him. For him, that's a dub because he goes from the Giants to the 49ers in the team in contention to make playoffs. So it's great for him. I'm reading about him. He's a good special teams guy, which we just had a lengthy conversation on. Maybe he could help the special teams. Darrell Luter seems to be confused out there sometimes. Maybe he'll take his role in the special teams. They've been having some depth issues with cornerback. Right now, Renardo Green has a toe issue, sprained toe. And then Mooney Ward, again, we don't know if he's going to be back or not. So makes sense to get a cornerback that they can add in and, maybe help them with special teams and some depth in the coverage department. So yeah, I thought it was a decent move. It wasn't, oh my God, a world beater move, but it was definitely a solid move at this point in the season.
I didn't really understand what was going on in New York. I mean, they let him go last Tuesday. Supposedly he refused to take a pay cut. He was making he had a 1 year, $3 million contract. I haven't heard of that where, take a pay cut or we're cutting you. But I like this player. I liked him at Notre Dame. I liked him at NC State. He's made 5 starts this year. So it's not like this guy's a total bench warmer. This guy started 5 games, 90 coverage snaps on a pretty decent Giant defense. He allowed 9 receptions, 170 yards and a touchdown, but he's a really good core special teamer. And they can elevate him to the 53-man roster off the practice squad 3 times between now and the end of the year. So they've got 3 games where they can promote him if they want. The Niners rank 30th in special teams DVOA. Guy's got good size, good speed. He's got 704 career special team snaps. He's 6'1", 193, ran 4.46 coming out. Really good 3-cone, 6.93. Really good short shuttle, 4.16. So he's really quick, good measurables, good special teamer. If you watch him on that Giant film, he wore number 44. I think this is a player that not only is going to be a Niner this year. I think this reminds me of last year's move for Sam O. They signed Sam O in December, and the whole plan at the time was, hey, you're next year guy. I think McLeod is going to be here. I think he's going to play right away, but I do think he's going to play this year. But I think he's going to be on the team going forward. I think they like him. I think he's a core special teamer. I think he could be that backup corner / special teamer. I think he's going to be here for the next year or two. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's a guy that's going to stick around because usually they get these late season guys and then they stick around. A couple of years ago, Jordan Willis, they grabbed him late and then he came on to the next season and was kind of a big time special teams player. He was one of the reasons they won that Green Bay game. So I agree. I think he's a guy that has a good role in special teams, and hopefully he can stick around because they need the help. And I think he'll take a bigger role because I don't think Darrell Luter is going to be doing much in special teams the next couple of weeks.
One other one, Devondre Campbell, according to Shanahan, played his strongest game against Dallas, and then even better against Tampa. What do you think? Are you enjoying Devondre Campbell?
I'm not enjoying Devondre Campbell, but I agree with what Kyle Shanahan said that these last 2 games he's played very, very well. I think he's played pretty good these last 2 games. I think he probably saw the criticism and he's definitely stepped up. I got to give him a lot of respect because he has played better. I've noticed it. I think a lot of people have noticed it. Is he the answer? No, but hopefully if he can play the way he's played these last 2 weeks, I think we'll be okay until Greenlaw comes back. I mean, hopefully he's back in the next week or 2. I know Kyle said today that they're not opening up his practice window, so maybe another week or 2. If Campbell plays like this, we're okay for a while. So, yeah, no, I appreciate his ability to have played better these last couple of weeks because those first few weeks of the season, Larry, Devondre Campbell was an absolute liability. So it's good to see him out there playing pretty well.
It's weird watching him because I don't know if there was an injury, but he seems to be playing at a much faster speed the last 2 weeks than I remember him playing, before that. I mean, it seemed like against Dallas, he was playing faster, and then this week he seemed like he was playing a lot faster. Yeah. And like 2-3 weeks ago, he was like in slow motion. I mean, it's almost unrecognizable. So, hey, if he can continue playing the way he's playing right now, he'll be okay. How about Mooney? Do you think Mooney goes this week? Because Shanahan said today he may come back this week. He may not. We don't. It doesn't sound. We have no update on Mooney. Do you think he plays against Seattle?
I think he's going to take another week, and I wouldn't fault him to. Honestly, he could take all the time he needs, man. I mean, I can't imagine what he's going through. It's on him. This is all on him. I mean, I'm not going to say he should play. I'm not going to say he shouldn't play. This is all on him. I mean, whatever he's going through must be just absolutely just devastating. And so if he plays, I know the team's going to really have a heavy heart and they're going to really play with passion for him. Diamond Lenore the other night tweeted out, they said Mooney was, we're going to not be so good because Mooney's not playing. But he said, all the youngins stepped up and they really have, Renardo Green and Diamond Lenore and Mustafa. These guys have really stepped up and played with some heart. So I think these cornerbacks are going to play, inspired football if Mooney doesn't play.
The Niners got yak yards for the first time all year yesterday. 179 yak yards, 7.2 yards after the catch per reception. I think it was about 35 yards per receiver. It wasn't one guy. Is this something that we're going to see the rest of the year, or was this an aberration?
I think we're going to see this trending up more. This is the offense that is built on yak, but they didn't have Christian McCaffrey for most of the season. We saw the return to it because we saw the return to Christian McCaffrey. I think we saw a little bit more check downs, and if you check it down, you can get yards after the catch. I think it's something that's going to keep on trending up. If they can get the ball to Kittle more too, I think we'll see some more yak. So I think it's a trend that's going to go in that direction because it was crazy not to see the 49ers run the ball and get these yak type plays. It was nice to see. It was nice to see some check downs. I mean, we don't always need to rely on it, but build it up, build the play action, dink it down a little bit, dunk it down a little bit, and then boom, throw downfield when you need to. So I like it. I think the offense will start to get better and better as Christian McCaffrey gets more acclimated to the offense, and I think we'll see more moving forward.
Before we hit the supers, one last one. What do you make of the Niner offensive line? I mean, they got very little push in the run game. CMC averaged 3 yards a carry. It seemed like Tampa was taking some runs at Purdy. They sacked him 3 times. They did pile up a number of sacks, over the last month or so. So it's not like the Niners are the only team that Tampa rushed the passer against. But the Niner offensive line didn't open big holes. CMC was getting stonewalled. Dominic Pooney was the highest graded PFF player on the entire team. They gave him an 83.4 grade. Once again, he allowed 0 sacks. Pooney just continues to be a revelation. But what do you make of the offensive line, Raj? Is the offensive line? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say about the offensive line. It's like I like Pooney. Obviously, Trent Williams is Trent Williams. I think Banks is pretty decent. I'm not a big fan of Brendel. McKivitz, I don't know. Sometimes I like McKivitz, but then I just kind of feel he's a replacement level. How do you feel about the 49er offensive line at this point in the year? Should they be concerned that, or should we be concerned that they don't seem like they're opening, or in this game, they didn't open run lanes for CMC for the most part?
Yeah, I was a little concerned about the fact that they weren't getting a lot of push on the run game because that's the 49ers bread and butter. You would think so, CMC there. But I feel like the run offensive line has been abysmal all year. Not, I wouldn't say abysmal, but it's been average. Like, I feel like the offensive line has been average. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be because they've been okay at times. Banks, as you mentioned, not horrible. He's been, I think, above average. Trent Williams is great. Pooney's a gem. I think the issue has been center, and that's been the issue all year. Jake Brendel, to me, is just, below average to average. He's in that, tier. He's a journeyman. He's a guy that just started last year, his first year starting. I mean, he's okay. I don't think he took a big leap, but again, he's a guy that was a journeyman and not like he's going to improve anything. So he is who who Jake Brendel is. He's not going to be the superstar. Colton McKivitz, he's an average guy at best. They definitely need to address that next year in the draft. Maybe they could get a Dominic Pooney at right tackle next year, but I think he's serviceable at the moment. I don't see Feliciano taking anybody's role unless Jake Brendel is just really bad in the next couple of weeks. Then maybe they'll consider it because last week when they were discussing Feliciano, they mentioned that, he's probably just a backup rotational guy. But to me, the issue is the center. They're just not getting enough push up the middle. That's the issue to me.
They don't seem like they're blowing anybody off the ball. That's for sure. No. And Brendel, I don't know. They love Brendel. I mean, they have other options. They don't want to go to him. They love Brendel. And it's funny because Lynch was asked about it the other day. I think Murph asked him on KMBR, hey, can John Feliciano play center? And he's like, well, yeah, he can play center, but we have a really good player there in Jake Brendel. Yeah. And it's funny. It's like Lynch says he's a really good player. Forster says he's a really good player. PFF doesn't agree. PFF does not agree.
My eyes don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. He doesn't seem overly powerful. He seems like a guy who gets kind of pushed around by some of the stronger defensive tackles and nose guards that he goes against. But they love him. I don't know. I don't know why, but they seem to. All right, Claw Daddy Arcades says, keep an eye on the Cardinals. Their run game grinds teams. Gannon has Kyler and the rest of the team believing they belong. 49ers need to lock in. That Cardinals game at the end in week 17 could be big. That could be for the division.
That might be the division game, Larry. I think it might be. I think so.
If they are tied, who wins it?
Niners.
Well, is it though? Because I mean, they will have split. If the Niners, let's just say if the Niners beat them, but they're tied, do you know what the tiebreaker is?
Come down to a tiebreaker, like division wins, points. There's like the tiebreaker formula.
What happened? I don't hear Raj.
Oh no, there's like a tiebreaker. So it would come down to whatever the tiebreaker would be. I think it's like wins against common opponents and then points against, points for. Like there's a certain bracket of tiebreaker that they would. Well, I would be crazy if they tie.
Oh my God! Can you imagine the last game of the year and it comes down to Niners Cardinals?
It might come down to like record in the NFC, opponents' records in the something like that, and then strength of schedule and something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the first is head-to-head. After that, maybe it's division record or conference record. I'm not sure what the other tiebreakers are, but that is something to watch because the Niners they're going to have to win that game. They're absolutely going to have to win that game. Supreme Sniper 22 says, Krug, what do you think of the team this year? I'm a diehard Niners fan from Philly and cannot stand the Eagles. I think the 49ers are a team that has good talent, but they kind of blew their season a little bit by stalling so much on these negotiations and not getting their work done on time. If they had gotten their negotiations done on time, I don't think Ayuk would have been. I think he would have been in better shape. I think Trent Williams would have been in better shape. I think they probably would have been more prepared for the early season. And I don't know. I that's all I can say about it. I don't think this is a bad team, but I think this is a team that Dre Greenlaw is a great player, and they don't have Dre Greenlaw. And we don't realize that Dre Greenlaw is a great player, but he is a great player. And you only notice it when he's not there, and he's not there now, and it's been painful. Tony Uga Ita Afa says, "Stop being so soft, Larry." All right. Tony's like, "Lock in." All right. MD 2020. I stand behind Debo 100%. Of course you do. MD 2020. If you drop an open touchdown pass times 3 at 3 different times in the game, teammate's going to check you. Tom Brady would have been all in his grill. 3 misses is egregious on a team like this. Moody can go to the Giants. Okay. Green Glass Full says, "What's soft is Bosa getting fined for a MAGA cap." It's not about, that's not soft. It's just the rule. It's the rule. But he's fine paying it. He makes $34 million. He was fined $11,000. He's going to be fine. He's got $11,000 probably in his tennis shoes. Slick_Niners says, "Would you be saying the same if it was Warner that got after Moody?" Yeah, I don't, players, the old saying, players play, coaches coach. Let the players play. Let the coaches coach. It's like everybody can't do everything. Guess what? It's called inappropriate. Brock Purdy's a great player, okay? But it's inappropriate for him to walk into the Niners war room on draft day and demand them to draft a player. It's just inappropriate. He's still Brock Purdy. He's still a leader. We should listen to him. He's the quarterback of the team, but it's not his place, right? It's not his place to do that. And that's the genesis or the source of my argument. It's just not his place. It's not the end of the world, just not his place. Tony says, "You are so soft, Larry." Larry's still mad. They didn't make a move at the deadline. I respect takes you give, but this is bad. Lock in, Larry. Oh, Tony, fuck off. Squadron 49ers. Much love, Krug, but I hate to agree with Raj. All right, fine. MD 2020. Krug, you never said anything about Kelsey pushing up on Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that was not right. Was that right?
They're Super Bowl champions.
Come on. What does that mean?
I'm not going to say, we're not going down this road again. We've said what we had to say.
Come on. You don't mean that.
Super Bowl champions, Larry. They're Super Bowl champions.
Raj. Unbelievable.
I love you, Larry.
I mean, come on, man. That is a ridiculous argument. SS, make Debo the special teams coach. One job. Yell at Moody. Anthony Catania. Score in the damn red zone and stop settling for field goals. This team is too good for settling for field goals. Championship teams score touchdowns, not field goals.
That's a true statement, Anthony. That's, yeah.
Tony Ugatifa says, "Locked in with Larry. New show name per Niners_WW."
Lock in with Larry.
All right. Raj, good stream. We don't always agree. This was one of them. Sorry if I offended anybody. Sorry if I offended Raj.
No, not at all.
I'm gonna call it a night right here. I'm gonna tuck tail and get out of here. Hope everybody has a great night. Thanks for supporting the Krug Show. Bet US, Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all you guys. Peace.
Peace. Hope